when you look into some of these practices, there may be a little morsel of wisdom in that. So what is it about ketchup, or what is it about the tomato that helps with acne? And there's other practices in Africa where it's the usage of shea butter to moisturize the skin, or whether it's the use of baobab oil or marula oil. Those are different sorts of things that impact our being. And so thinking about, where you live, how you grew up, what your mom may have taught you about beauty and wellness, all of these things affect that. So again, remember I said a lot of companies feel like one size fits all, which is not true. So people of color, we have a unique structure and function to our skin and hair. And so how you go about thinking about taking care of your skin and hair is a lot different. The products that you will use should be different, and should be able to address whatever issue that you may have based on the physiology of your hair and skin. So let's first talk about melanin. This is, one of the key areas, and I said before, everyone has melanin, is that for people of darker hue, we tend to have a lot more than other groups. So why is our melanin so powerful? Well, I'm a scientist, so I like to kind of explain where that power comes from. And so we have proteins in our body that, tyrosine, that actually produce this melanin. So these proteins are activated by enzymes that lead to building out things like eumelanin, which gives us our dark skin hue. And then for those who have red hair, or Caucasians that have red hair, then you have the pheomelanin that is produced in their bodies. So the number of melanocytes, which are cells that produce melanin, are all the same amount in every race, but it's different in size, and I'm going to show you on a microscopic level what that looks like. So here are 3 different types of melanocytes from 3 different groups of people. So the first one is a fair-skinned person, or a person who's Caucasian. So typically when you look at a fair-skinned individual, the melanocytes are small and clustered in groups, and they tend to aggregate together, and they degrade more quickly in the stratum corneum. So basically, that's like the top layer of your skin. Now, when you look at that second section, those are melanosomes or melanocytes of Asian individuals. And their cells tend to be a lot larger and more clustered in groups. And so all of these things factor into how much melanin is actually released in our skin. Now, when you look at this third section, you see how a lot of the melanosomes in this section, they tend to be a lot larger and more dispersed. That's what you see in our skin, persons that have darker skin tone. And so the larger the cell, the more melanin that is released. So here is another visual of the difference between dark and light skin and how the melanin is dispersed in the skin. Another thing to think about when it concerns our skin is the ceramides that are in our skin. So typically, for those of African descent, the ceramides are much lower. So what happens when you have low ceramides? Well, your skin tends to be more ashy. And so we have ashy or dry skin. And then when you look at those who are Asian, they have a higher level of ceramides in their skin, and that will exhibit in them having more oilier skin. So understanding these underlying things helps us to make decisions about our skin and our hair care. So here is a visual that I created of from darker skin to lighter skin, and these are some of the different components that are different when you look at African skin, when you look at those that are Middle Eastern or Caucasian. You'll see a vast difference in the different cells within the skin. So for instance, we tend to have a lot larger fiber cells in our skin. So that's why they say black doesn't crack, because we don't age as fast because our fiber cells are much larger. But there are issues that come with that as well. So those that may experience, what do you call it? They may experience excessive growth of skin, and they tend to get keloids. And so for those persons, their cells are overactive. So they're larger and they're overactive. So whenever there's a cut or any sort of wound, it grows, those cells activate and they grow a lot of extra skin. So here are some characteristics of African skin, or those who are of African descent. Typically, those of African descent suffer from less UV damage. So our melanin typically has a sunscreen specification of about 8. And so we have some level of sunscreen protection, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't wear sunscreen. So I'll talk about that tomorrow. We have larger melanocytes, but we also deal with post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, which also means that we get those, what is basically those dark spots on our skin. And then we also deal with keloidal skin. As I mentioned before, we have much larger cells that make us look younger, but at the same time, for some people, those cells become overactive, and then it leads to keloids. Some of us deal with a form of hypopigmentation, which is basically vitiligo. So vitiligo is basically the loss of pigment in the skin. And then again, we're going back to having low ceramides, meaning that we may tend to have much drier and ashy skin. And then for black males, they typically deal with pseudofolliculitis barbae, which is the razor bumps. And I'll show that tomorrow. And then we also deal with hair loss, with a lot of us, wearing, tight braids or weaves, or may have used chemical relaxers. A lot of us are experiencing alopecia or several different forms of alopecia that are leading us to lose our hair. So here's an example of a skin condition that we typically deal with is acne, or what we say pomade acne. Typically that happens when you're using like a hair grease to put on your scalp. Sometimes the grease may come on the forehead and it leads to bumps or acne on the forehead. And so we deal with acne and these sorts of things, but we never think about how do we address this sort of acne in our when it happens. So when it comes to post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation or dark spots, basically, many of us African Americans, we have a high percentage of us that deal with those types of skin conditions. And then followed up with Latinos, Asians, and Native Americans. And so you see here that the numbers are really high, and I actually think they're a lot higher, but there aren't enough of us going to the dermatologist for them to gather that data. And so it goes back to us thinking about ageless beauties. Again, I said that that's one of the areas that a focus for us is how do we maintain our skin and our youthfulness. And so I want us to start thinking about that. We're going to talk about that tomorrow as well. So we're going to go over the basics of putting together a skincare routine. And so many of us want to have beautiful skin. But some of us don't know some of the steps the basic steps to take to achieve that. And so I'll start with one of the basic areas is that your skin leaves clues. Your skin basically can show you the health of your body. It can show what your body may be going through. And so be aware if you see any changes in your skin. In particular, there's some that may have like a dark ring around their neck. Sometimes that's insulin resistance, meaning that that person may be diabetic. So when you're thinking about your skincare routine, you want to start off within. So you have to heal from the inside first. So that means, drinking a lot of water. That means eating your fruits and vegetables because you're getting those nutrients that help to nurture the skin. And so we often think about just the topicals, meaning the creams and the cleansers and the toners and the serums, but we also have to start with the foundational piece. Think about it as it being holistic. So a lot of times when we're having issues with our skin, there may be some sort of vitamin deficiency. So that's something that you would have to talk to your doctor about, but consider that too as well, that, insufficient food supply, meaning not having access to healthy fruits and vegetables, having low intake of high quality foods, can definitely affect how your skin looks and your hair as well. And you probably can't see this. So the next step is to think about, well, what is your skin type? We all have different skin types. And just to show you a basic way of figuring out your skin type is doing a quick blot test. So you can take blotting paper or tissue. After you cleanse your face in the morning, wait for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then take a blotting tissue or a tissue paper and just put it on your face to see whether you have oily, dry, combination skin. And typically those who have, normal skin, they don't really have many issues. After doing the blotting test, they may find that there's just very small specks to no forms of oil on the tissue paper. And then for those who have dry skin, you definitely don't see any oil on it. And you may feel a little itchiness or dryness or see a little bit of ash on the face after cleansing. For those who have oily skin, when you do the blotting test, you'll find that you may have like a lot of blotches of oil on the blotting paper or tissue. And then for those who have combination skin, typically you'll see like what we call the T-zone, your forehead going down. You'll typically see a lot of oil in that area. And then on the tissue, you may see a dryness on the cheeks, or it may be inverse. You may see oiliness on the cheeks and then dryness in the T-zone. So typically that is what you will find in those with combination skin. Those who have sensitive skin, after you cleanse your face, maybe waiting for about 5-10 minutes, you'll start to feel some itchiness or real dryness, but mainly you'll start to feel a lot of itchiness. And so that will let you indicate to you that maybe I may have a sensitive skin. Now, everyone, sometimes I hear a lot of people say, well, I have sensitive skin, I have sensitive skin. That's not necessarily, everyone doesn't have sensitive skin. Maybe it could be your skin doesn't work well with a particular product, or you may not have given that product time to actually work on your skin. So for instance, you may have a cleanser or a serum that you're using on your skin, and then the next day you may break out. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're allergic to the product. That may be your skin purging and prepping to to heal. And so you have to think about, okay, let me give maybe about 2 to 3 weeks. In all honesty, it takes about 30 days to see any transformation in your skin. So you want to give yourself, when you're buying a skincare product, don't just say, okay, it didn't work for me today, I'm just going to throw it out. This doesn't work. Give yourself about 30 days to see some sort of results from it. So what you need to have in your skincare toolkit. So you want to definitely have a pre-cleanser. A pre-cleanser is an oil-based cleanser. And how many of you guys know about double cleansing? Oh, quite a few of you. Great, great. So double cleansing basically is when you take, when you cleanse your skin twice. So you essentially take oil-based cleanser, and you will cleanse your skin, and then you can follow up with a regular cleanser. It works really well, especially if you're someone that wears a lot of makeup, because makeup is oil-based. And so in chemistry, we call it like dissolves like. So a lot of makeup is made from oil, and then we're out in the environment where there's a lot of debris that is oil-based, and then we're also releasing a lot of oil from our skin. And so when we use an oil-based cleanser, it helps to dissolve those makeup and dissolve those other things. Cleanser, you want to find a cleanser for your skin type. So if you're dealing with, let's say, dry skin, I always recommend that you use a cleanser that's creamy, that may have ingredients like hyaluronic acid or some sort of ceramides to help with the moisture of the skin. Then another type of cleanser you may want to consider, let's say you're dealing with acne. So you may want to utilize a cleanser that may have salicylic acid, glycolic acid, or lactic acid to help you deal with the acne. Or let's say, for instance, you're dealing with hyperpigmentation or dark spots. Then you want to utilize a cleanser that has ingredients that address those dark spots. It could be a derivative of turmeric. It could be glycolic acid or mandelic acid. Those are some of the ingredients that you should be looking for. So when I say look for something for your skin type, think about the skin types that we went over, and then also think about the skin issue that you're dealing with. Facial toners. The role of a facial toner, and it depends on what you're dealing with in your skin. Not everyone needs to use a toner, but the role of a facial toner is either to hydrate the skin or to deliver more actives to the skin. So if you have dry skin, or sometimes after you utilize a lot of cleansers, the skin may get a little dry, utilizing the toner will help to hydrate the skin again. And then also it's a great way to deliver active ingredients that address issues such as acne and hyperpigmentation. Another product that you should have in your toolkit is a facial moisturizer. So a facial moisturizer, you get it based on your skin type. I hear a lot of folks saying that, well, I have oily skin, so I shouldn't use moisturizer. No, you need to use moisturizer. You just need to get a moisturizer that works well for your oily skin. So you want to look at ceramides, or you may want to look at a moisturizer that is gel-based, that has a lot of hydrating agents like hyaluronic acid that will help to maintain a balance of hydration in your skin. Then you also want to have in your arsenal sunscreen. Now, every person should be utilizing sunscreen. Just because you're black or you're a person of color doesn't mean that you shouldn't use sunscreen. So you have to use sunscreen for several reasons. One being that you want to, let's say you're dealing with hyperpigmentation, you want to protect your skin from hyperpigmenting even more. So if you're utilizing serums to deal with the hyperpigmentation, if you don't have a sunscreen, what's going to happen is your skin is going to react with UV light, and it's going to cause those spots to become darker even more. And so utilizing a sunscreen helps as you're trying to even out your skin tone. And then also sunscreen helps with protecting your skin from breaking down from the UV light. The UV light ages our skin. And so in order to protect that youthfulness, you want to utilize a sunscreen. Now, some people think that sunscreens actually protect you from getting skin cancer, and that's not true. You can't make that claim. And so utilizing a sunscreen, you're just trying to decrease the chances of your cells being damaged. Now, what that cell damage looks like or what could lead to, it could lead to skin cancer. It may not. But you can't make the claim that, well, utilizing the sunscreen is going to help stop me from getting skin cancer, because not only can you get skin cancer on your skin, but you can get skin cancer in your nails, like your toes, what we call acral antigones. Does anyone know of a famous person that died from skin cancer? A famous black person? Yeah. Who? Yes. Yep. Bob Marley had skin cancer in his toe, and it kept bleeding and bleeding and bleeding and bleeding, and he just really didn't take it seriously, and it advanced to other parts of his body. So you can get skin cancer in your mouth, in your reproductive areas. You can get it on your nails. It's so many different places that you can get skin cancer. And so a lot of those closed orifices, those areas are not exposed to the sun. And you can't put sunscreen there to protect yourself. So if you catch my drift. So other things that you need to have in your tool kit are clean cotton towel. So a towel, you want to have a clean towel when you're cleaning your face. You also want to have cotton balls or cotton pads to apply. And then also utilizing lukewarm water when you're cleansing your skin. Key thing here is consistency is the key to breakthrough. A lot of us, we start and stop when we're starting a skin routine. It takes time. Remember I said it takes 30 days for our cells to actually turn over. So remember that your consistency is what's going to get you results. So here's my contact information again. So I'll open the floor for any questions. Okay.
How do you feel about turmeric soap?
It depends on how it's formulated. Yeah. So turmeric, the plant actually does have active ingredients that address hyperpigmentation and dark spots. But when you're just utilizing just the turmeric spice, you're not going to be able to extract the fullness of those organic materials. So you rather get a soap that actually has that active ingredient that has been extracted from the turmeric. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
Should exfoliants be like a critical part of the skincare routine?
What type of exfoliants?
Like facial exfoliants, like
Mm-hmm.
brown sugars, scrubs.
So there's two types of exfoliants. So there are chemical exfoliants, and then you have mechanical exfoliants. So what he just mentioned, the scrubs, those are mechanical exfoliants. So those are your sugars and your salts. So I'll say this, that you have to be careful with those in a skincare routine where you're using mechanical scrubs, because they can cause micro tears in the skin. And that could possibly lead to bacteria growth and infection in the skin. And so the other thing that I would say is an alternative to the mechanical is utilizing chemical exfoliants. So your chemical exfoliants are, when you break it down, are your alpha hydroxy acids and your beta hydroxy acids. So you have mandelic acid, and actually mandelic acid is both a alpha hydroxy acid and a beta hydroxy acid. Mandelic acid comes from almonds. It's extracted from almonds. Glycolic acid is extracted from sugarcane. And then you have citric acid, which comes from citrus plants like oranges and lemons. So those are the types of exfoliants that I would recommend be used on the skin. When you're utilizing, again, mechanical exfoliants, you have to be very careful, especially with the face, with the micro tears. Now, I do think that mechanical exfoliants have their place, maybe most likely with the body, using them on the body, because our skin is a lot thicker on the body than on the face. And I hope that answers your question.
So towards the face, you're saying just use like softer.
Use chemical exfoliants. Yeah. Not the sugar scrubs on the, I wouldn't recommend that on the face. Any other questions? Yes.
What about a mask that you would recommend for oily skin?
Oh, great question. So mask for oily skin, I would say use a mask that has a clay in it, because the clay basically absorbs the oil from the skin. I don't know if you guys ever heard stories of our foremothers when you were pregnant, and then our foremothers would say eat clay if you got sick, not motion sickness, but morning sickness. The reason why they told you to do that so it can absorb whatever's in your digestive system. So that's what clays do. So you use a clay mask once a week, and it'll help with the oily skin. Yes?
Can that clay mask also help with hyperpigmentation?
It depends on what it's formulated with. So if it has ingredients such as, let's say, an alpha hydroxy acid, yes. Yeah. Any other questions? Feel free if you have any skin, yes, yeah.
What is your opinion on serum?
Oh, I love serums. And serums are created to deliver actives. That is your holy grail in your skincare routine. Because you have your cleanser, you have your toner, you have your treatment serum, and your moisturizer. The serum is the more concentrated product in the skincare routine. So it has tends to have higher level of actives. So I love utilizing serums, because if you're having issues with acne, if you're having issues with hyperpigmentation, then you can quickly address those issues. It can deliver the active into the skin much better than the other product types. Any other questions? Okay, keep them coming.
Yes, ma'am. Could you expound a little more about the idea of consistency when you're doing any type of skincare? I frequently run into people who date, I can get a chemical peel, or I can go to the esthetician and see them every 6 months, or every 9 years, or whatever. Okay, but the understanding is, and I don't want to overtalk.
What you're saying is correct.
I just think that it's important that people recognize and understand that it is a journey. It is just a small part of where you're going. Because over here is that beautiful, wonderful skin, that comprehensive wellness that you're looking for, but you don't just get there doing one thing.
Overnight,
you have to, it has to be cumulative. So it was more or less a comment.
So just like you have So when I think about wellness, you have certain people on your team. And so you have your physician, you may have your chiropractor, you have your physical therapist, you have your fitness instructor, and then you also may have your esthetician. So your esthetician is on your team to help you or help guide you to healthy skin. So in order to have that healthy skin, you have to be consistent day in and day out. And like I said, consistency is the key to breakthrough. You can't just start and stop. So it's ideal to see an esthetician, especially if you're having skin issues that you're not able to manage on your own, to see them once a month. And they can further guide you on the types of products. They can provide treatments that you don't have access to getting at Target or Walmart or these other places, Sephora or Ulta. They have more access to machinery, lasers, hydrofacial equipment that can help address those issues. A lot of these movie stars that you see on TV, a lot of them have bad skin and bad issues, but they go and see an esthetician to help address those issues so that they can be red carpet ready. Yeah. Any questions over here? Yes.
Pores. What to do?
Ma'am?
Pores.
Pores. Ooh, okay. So pores are genetic. Yes. Pores are genetic, but I'm going to give you a little secret on how to minimize it. So when you cleanse your face, after you cleanse your face, dip your face into ice water. Yeah. Or you can take ice and then rub it on your face. Yeah. To kind of minimize your pores. I would say like you dip for like a few seconds, come out and then dip again for a few seconds. You know, don't stay in there for a minute. You can't hold your breath under water, but yeah. And you'll find also that helps to help the youthfulness of the skin as well. One of the new trends in wellness is cryotherapy, where you actually dip your body into cold water or you go into a fridge. Yeah, that's all to rejuvenate the cells, and that helps to you to help maintain the youthfulness. Yeah.
Do you use ice gloves?
You can use ice globes, but they're not as, it's not ice. You get what I mean? Yeah, but you can still use an ice globe. And especially if you use an ice globe, if you have an acne cyst and you're getting that burn, itchy feeling, using an ice globe or ice on it will help to address the sensation. Yes?
How often do you recommend you dip your face in the ice? Is it
Once a week.
once a week?
You can do it once a week.
And right after your second cleanse, right?
Yeah, you can do it after your second cleanse. And then if you're really having some, oily issues, you may do it more frequently if you're trying to, control and minimize your pores. But pores are genetic. There's not much that you can do. And then, using alpha hydroxy acids, beta hydroxy acids also helps with the management of pores. Yes. Retinols, okay, that's a great question. So, so there are what we call over-the-counter drugs. So they're over-the-counter retinols, and then you have retinols that are prescription-based. So the over-the-counter retinols are not as strong as what you would get from a physician or from a pharmacy. I like retinols if you're dealing with acne and hyperpigmentation. The caveat with retinols is that it can be very drying to the skin. So you definitely want to add in a moisturizer that has ceramides and hyaluronic acid to minimize the dryness that you may get after you utilize a retinol. Yes.
Okay, because you do the formulations, can you kind of give them an idea of when you just spoke about the over-the-counter being less,
Mhm.
not so much is not diamond, but
Mhm.
less effective. Can you kind of give them an idea about what happens in terms of the way the A separates, and like if you get it from the pharmacist, it's a
Mhm.
process that we learned about. I'm an esthetician, I
Mhm.
told you,
Mhm.
but it's a process we learned about. Like if you get the ones from like Target or Sephora or
Mhm.
whatever, it's a whole process it has to go through in order to, I guess, glean the actual benefits from.
So you're talking about the chemical reaction.
Yes.
So the retinols that you would see in the store, those are like your retinol aldehydes. It's not like what you would see with retin-A, which is that's the real holy grail retinol.
Yes.
So there's several different types. Maybe I can show a diagram tomorrow of the different types.
I think I was just talking
Yeah.
more about the process.
The process,
Like if
yeah.
you go with the lower ones, yes, it's going to get to the retinol, but it's got to go through a whole different.
You're talking about the chemical reaction.
Yes.
So let's say like retinol aldehyde. So it has and I'm dipping into the science here. So it has an aldehyde bond on it. So it has to go through a process where enzymes actually break down that aldehyde so it can get to the retinol. So that's basically, it just takes a longer period of time to, as to oppose if you had a pure retinol, it's a lot different process.
What about darker underarm skin?
So darker underarm skin, now they have a lot of body products that have active agents that can address dark spots or dark splotches on the body. So again, using your alpha hydroxys. I love mandelic acid for skin of color because the molecule is large enough to go into the skin without causing much irritation to it. And in comparison to, your glycolic acids or your azelaic acids, I think that the mandelic acid is a lot safer for us. So if you find that, like I find that Lume, have you heard of Lume? It's a deodorant, and it has mandelic acid in it, so that could work. And then I think Shea Moisture just released something as well. And I have to go back and look at the ingredient deck. But now you're seeing a lot more brands bring out body products to address those issues. Yes.
What about eye patches or eye cream?
Ooh, okay. I'm kind of, a little 50-50 when it comes to eye creams. What are you looking for the eye cream to do?
Well, most people typically, of course, use eye creams or eye pads to like help with puffiness or like dark circles under their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just asking, like, I'm seeing more of it come out, like, for
Yeah.
instance, like that brand Faded
Mm-hmm.
Topicals, they
Yeah.
have those eye patches.
Mhm.
And I've been trying them out, so I just been wanting to see, like, what was your opinion?
Okay. I think they're fine as long as they have a good delivery system to deliver the active to that area. So if you're dealing with dark circles under the eyes, it may not always be necessarily caused from hyperpigmentation. There could be allergies or some hormonal issues. So first you want to make sure you go to your physician and make sure you're clear of having any allergies, because that could be the cause of it. If you're not dealing with allergies, then you definitely want to, then it most likely will be hyperpigmentation. So utilizing a patch, again, that has the actives like azelaic acid. You want to be careful with the concentration, because our eye bed is so sensitive and it's a little thin under the eyes, and so you don't want to irritate that area. But I don't have an issue with that. But one thing to say is that, like, when it comes to puffiness, it's not a long-term thing. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Yes.
What are your thoughts on hydroquinone?
Oh, great question. So hydroquinone is an active ingredient that's utilized to, they call it bleach, or to bleach the skin. And I'll show some visuals of that tomorrow, actually. So I'm okay with the usage of hydroquinone under the direction of a physician, because they can prescribe you a topical with hydroquinone in it that may not have other additives that could damage the skin. So what's happening is you have on the market or off market, you are seeing creams with hydroquinone, but they also have mercury and other ingredients. And then it's high levels of mercury, high levels of hydroquinone that can lead to a condition called onchronosis. Have any of you guys heard of onchronosis? So onchronosis is basically almost irreversible, a form of hyperpigmentation, and it's caused by over-oxidation from the hydroquinone, overusage of the hydroquinone. And so typically you'll see that in women from Africa, women from Middle East, or Asian women that are trying to lighten their skin, and they're buying it at, let's say the local African store or Indian store, and they're getting those creams. So I am okay with the usage of hydroquinone under the direction of a physician. Typically, when you're using hydroquinone from a dermatologist, they will have you on it for about 8 weeks, and then you stop, and then they probably will switch you to another topical that has other agents in it that can address the hydroquinone. They typically don't have you on it for long periods of time. Yeah.
What is your take on glutathione, either taking it orally or through IV or?
I don't like it.
You don't?
No, because it can cause kidney disease.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
glutathione.
Glutathione.
Oh.
So if you look at some studies, it's shown that it can cause kidney disease. So I just, as a black woman, I have issue with putting an IV in me to lighten my skin.
Oh.
That's how I look at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how I look at it. Like, why do I need to go to that extent?
Yeah.
I was considering it. I was like, but it's not, for me, it's not the lightening. It's more or less for me to do evening, you know what I'm saying, of the skin tone. I'm not necessarily interested in lightening, but just evening the skin tone all the way around.
Yeah, tomorrow I'll show you a visual of a South African artist that did that, and it got to the point where she can no longer go out into the sun without it hurting her skin. Yeah, like when you see her before and after, it's like night and day. And she did it to be able to get status in South Africa and more deals as a music artist. So that's why I can't rock with it, to be honest. Yeah. Yes.
How do you feel about trying to, what products should you use to lighten up certain areas, like for big girls, like the inner thigh area?
Oh yeah. So just what I mentioned, the question that she asked a few minutes ago about, the underarms, those same types of products, like those, they almost look like deodorant roll-ons. Those same types of products, those are great for those sorts of issues.
Do you have any recommendations?
Have you heard of Vanacream? Vanacream, I don't know if it has an active in it for that. Who else? I would say Lume. They have actives for that. I would also look at Glytone. Yeah, Glytone has an oil for that has an AHA for the body. Glytone. Any other questions? Keep them coming. Yeah. Oh, okay. You go first.
So when it comes to sunscreen, right, because
Mm-hmm.
there's this big thing about physical, like a mineral sunscreen and what's the other?
The chemical sunscreen.
Yes,
Yeah.
so I know in school they're teaching us, to lean more towards a physical sunscreen. But with black people, we have, it's the zinc that we all worry about, that
Yeah.
whole white cast. So
Yeah.
what would you say about that? Would you just say find ways to like deal with the white cast, or would you just say, okay, well, it doesn't matter as long as you're protected?
So I'm not a fan of the white cast, but I would look for sunscreens that are tinted with that may have the zinc in it, or look for sunscreens that have a combination of chemical and the that have the chemical as well as the organic sunscreen.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about, because I know a lot of physical sunscreens also have high amounts of titanium dioxide.
Mhm.
So how do you feel about that? Because
Honestly, I don't have a problem with it. We have titanium in our makeup.
okay, gotcha.
Our foundations that we use, they have titanium in them.
Right.
There's other products that we use, like some of our clays that we may put on our face or our hair. They have titanium in them.
I mean, even the food.
Yeah, exactly.
But I just
Mhm.
know some people are like, oh, just stick to a sunscreen that's like nothing but just zinc. Make sure it doesn't have titanium in it, because apparently,
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know.
Mhm.
There's this thing out now that titanium is just not good for you.
You mean in relation to the Johnson and Johnson?
Oh no, I didn't hear
You
about
about with the and I think it was the talc. No, it was talc, not titanium. I'm sorry.
that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I would say also you have to do what's best for you. So do a patch test, try out the sunscreens and see what works well for you. There are some people that cannot use the chemical sunscreens because it causes an allergic reaction. So they can only use the zinc with the white cast. Mhm. Yes. Oh, I think he had. I'm sorry. He had a question. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What is your opinion on charcoal?
On. Oh, say that again.
Charcoal.
Charcoal. And how would it be used as a mask or?
They use it as like exfoliant, as a mask, on your teeth, everything.
Oh wow. Okay. So I have utilized charcoal in a hair mask. And I think in that sense, it works well for people who have oily hair. Also, I in that sense, using charcoal, it would work well for people who have oily skin. I don't, I've never tried it with the teeth, so I can't give you any thoughts on that. What I've heard is that it whitens the teeth. I don't know if it cleanses. Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay, yeah. So it's up to the individual, but I've never tried the toothpaste with charcoal in it, so I don't really know.
Cold water, using coconut oil on wrinkles.
Any other questions? Yes.
Goes back with the sunscreen.
Yeah.
Any recommended sunscreen for a woman of color like that we should use or?
Color science. But I think that's a little on the high end. Goop.
Super glue?
Goop. Yeah, super goop. Yeah. Some people say some people are 50-50 with black girl sunscreen. I've never tried it. I do like Glossier's. They have a good sunscreen. And let me think if there's any other brand.
Undefined Beauty is a good one too.
Yeah, I haven't tried that one.
You said,
Glossier.
and if you were to go for store brand ones, what if they couldn't afford the store brand ones?
So you can get Glossier in, you like, when you say store brand, like in
CVS,
mass.
Like CVS and stuff like that.
Yeah, I would say the Black Girl sunscreen, and then La Roche-Posay.
Okay.
They have some great sunscreens. That's their specialization. Yeah. So you can find La Roche-Posay at CVS, you know, Walgreens, Walmart. Any other questions?
I got one.
Okay, yes.
Any suggestions on?
You look gorgeous, by the way.
Thank you. Any suggestions on working with skin that's scarred, pitting, scarring, other than microdermabrasion and chemical peels? I've done a combination of those things.
So that's where you may have to have, are you a dermatologist or esthetician?
Esthetician.
So I think that's where you may have to have a dermatologist come into play, because now they have I can't remember what it's called, but they have a method of going underneath the skin to sort of smooth out those scars.
Okay.
Yeah. And since it's invasive, you'll have to, you know, it has to be done by a dermatologist. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Do you have any recommendations for people with combination skin?
Yes.
Pertaining to over-the-counter everyday skincare?
So I just tell people general, when it comes to combination skin, basics. You want to use an alpha hydroxy acid. I love mandelic acid, so getting a cleanser that has mandelic acid in it. The alpha hydroxy acids help to exfoliate, and the mandelic acid gives a great exfoliation. Is very gentle on our skin. So if that's an active ingredient in, let's say, in the cleanser, toner, and the serum, that's great. And then the moisturizer is going to be key. Getting a moisturizer that has sodium lactate, that's hydrating to the skin. Also, that may have hyaluronic acid, and urea is also a hydrating active ingredient.
Do you know any brand-specific products?
I can't name some off the top of my head right now. Let me think about that.
Do
And
you
I
like
can.
CeraVe? Is that a good product?
CeraVe is, dermatologists recommend it because it's safe for any skin. It's not harsh on the skin. That's why it's recommended. But if you're dealing with, you know, acne and hyperpigmentation, CeraVe is not going to save your life. It may be a component of your skincare. Maybe you may use the CeraVe for the cleanser, but I wouldn't use CeraVe for my treatment serum. I want something, if I'm dealing with acne and hyperpigmentation, I want to utilize a product that is going to actually work and has a good delivery system. Yes.
What sunscreen would you recommend for children? Would they use the same one?
Yeah, they can use like La Roche-Posay. Yeah. And everyone knows we have to use at least an SPF of 30. Now, when you go up to 50 or 100, you don't see much change in. So going up to 50 and 100 doesn't do much. It's just a slight change.
Another question. Would you recommend the spray for the children as compared to the cream?
You can use either one. The key thing is, you know, reapplying every 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours. Yeah. And when you spray, make sure you rub it in. Yeah. All right, so we're going to take a break, and we'll follow up. It's 11:48.